everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today I get to present to you the Ghost 2.0. This is the minifigure scale Lego model of the Ghost as seen in Star Wars Rebels in a few of the movies. And if you're wondering why it's the 2.0 version or if this video seems slightly familiar to any of you, that is because this is the second time this ship has been built up. Or perhaps more specifically, it's gone through a bit of a reskin with more details on the top, and it has also been lit on the inside and out. Just like the last time this was built, it was done in collaboration with my brother and the designer Sean Miller, who both worked on the ship together, and they two also worked in conjunction to help flesh out the final details of this Ghost 2.0. If you think you're crazy enough to actually build this model yourself, the instructions can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. With each purchase comes the PDF step-by-step building guide, as well as a digital parts list so you can upload the pieces online to make your order. And this time around, we also added a small PDF file that can be printed onto sticker paper if you wanted to have the little symbol that's on either side of the front of the Ghost. Getting instructions from us is a great way to help support what we do here at the channel, and it also helps support the amazingly talented designers that we work with, like Sean. So if any of this at all interests you, you can click that link in the description below. Also, the Ghost is totally lit up. We get our lights from brickstuff.com. They are an absolutely excellent resource, but more on that later. Now let's jump into the features of this massive model. As you can probably guess, there's at least a couple in there, but first let's talk about the scale of this ship. I said minifigure scale. That means it's supposed to be the correct size compared to a Lego minifig, and it also scales properly with the rest of the Star Wars ships that we also build and have instructions for in the web store. Now, a great way to show a comparison of these ships is really just to have it on our gigantic Yavin 4 Rebel base tarmac. Here you can see a variety of different ships that are all laid about with pilots walking around in different supply crates everywhere. And what's kind of a fun, interesting, and full circle moment for us here in the channel is that this giant Lego Star Wars diorama that you're looking at only exists now because we initially were trying to think of a platform to put the original Lego Star Wars Ghost on after we first completed it a little over 2 years ago. So it's pretty funny that now that we're finished with Yavin, the Ghost ends up being the final ship added to the tarmac to really complete the look of this diorama. Now, this is not an update video about Yavin 4. We've got a ton of different vlog videos about this particular Star Wars diorama, also linked in the description below. I'm going to focus mainly on the ship, so let's get it back in the Lightroom now and break it down a little bit better for you. Officially is 38.5 inches long or 98 centimeters, 33.5 inches wide, 85 centimeters, and 14 inches high, 36 centimeters. This is what the ship looks like next to the Ghost crew. It's an incredibly tall, very beefy looking model, and it looks very much more so like a cargo ship compared to the Millennium Falcon, which was also a different type of Carillion freighter. Now, what really separates this ship from its original version and makes it the Ghost 2.0 is very much the way the top paneling has been put together. Before, the Ghost was constructed in a way where wing plate pieces overlapped with each other, and flexi tubes had to be pinned and bent underneath the model, and ultimately this design was a little bit finicky and didn't quite get that surface look that we wanted for the ship. So instead, we decided to go with a brick stacking method and very much followed the snotting technique, or the studs not on top technique, and so it's very smooth. And this way the model also is allowed to have a lot more small variable and technical detailing inlaid to the top paneling. And now, because the detail is much more intricate here on these 4/4 panel tops, it only made sense to reskin the rest of the Ghost to just feel a little bit more weathered, and this took the form of different types of color variations, a wider gradation between tiled and studded pieces, and there's also just a bit of extra mechanical or greebling details kind of thrown in and around the entire upper surface. Now, when you look at the Ghost, especially from afar, it feels like it's a bit more of a lived-in ship. This is something that has gone on a lot of missions, had a bit of wear and tear throughout the years, and it really does feel like the Ghost crew has actually been piloting this thing fighting against the Empire. Before, the original version of this model almost felt like it was coming right out of a Carillion factory, like it was a brand spanking new ship, and that isn't necessarily the aesthetic we were originally going for. This is especially apparent when you compare the two ships on the tarmac, the UCS Falcon, which is a particularly weathered, very large scale model, and then the Ghost, admittedly so, definitely looks a bit cleaner than the Falcon, even in the shows and in the movies, but still the weather detailing is very much apparent when you see this ship in Rogue One and also Rise of Skywalker. It also increased the part count quite a bit, but without any cracks or spacing in the side panels to distract the eye and a whole heck of a lot more wear and tear. This ship has gone through what I'm going to consider its final update, and everybody that's been working so hard to complete this model is feeling really satisfied with its overall look. Now, looking at the ship from the underside, not too much has changed in terms of the updates. I did mention earlier that we created a little sticker detailing if you wanted to add this little symbol that's on either side of the front of the Ghost here. It looks like it was done by hand. I'm going to say most likely done by Sabine Wren, though I haven't found a definitive answer during the research. So when creating the graphic, I actually altered both sides of this graphic detailing ever so slightly so they're not perfectly symmetrical. And then moving towards the back of the ship, just like in the original version, this model isn't actually designed to fit into a real world scenario. It was designed digitally. I think it's only existed in digital form from LucasArts or Disney. So when we created the physical form of it, it leans too far back. There's too much weight in the back and there's actually no landing gear to support it. So before, I just kind of created an ugly block that held it up, but now we've got a much smaller stand that actually looks like an emergency support stand that could and does, I think, fit pretty well within our Yavin diorama, and also it just feels like it's something that could rest underneath the Ghost when it's resting at any ship port. Now let's move on to some of the interactive functions with the Ghost. You can take off the top panels to reveal an interior. The ship, of course, has space for the full crew and a lot more figs if you really wanted. And then jumping in nice and close, we've got Ezra in that bottom turret gunner seat. You can see him from the top just a little bit. There's a lot of space for him. And then here is most of the rest of the crew sitting in the main control room with Hera, Kanan, Sabine, and Chopper. Now jumping up to the top turret, Zeb is controlling the weapon here. It rests pretty loosely, but also has a way of fitting around the control panel, so when you slide it from side to side, the seat moves along with the gun. The last interactive feature is this removable series of compartments. It's every character's individual rooms, and they are set up accurately as to where their rooms were located in the ship itself, which is pretty fun. The detailing isn't particularly extravagant, but there are specific details that pertain to each character in their rooms, and this is an area of the model that actually hasn't gone through any updates since the first iteration. Underneath there, we have a small storage area, just a small hallway compartment. The ladder actually leads up to the control area, and when you look at it from below, you can also see that small yellow ladder through the opened door. And now lastly, let's take a closer look at the lighting features on this ship. As mentioned earlier in this video, we used all the lights from brickstuff.com. It's been really great working with Rob over the last couple of years, and all the lighting components have been extremely helpful and really easy to work with. We found that it wasn't too difficult to actually run the wires through the engines or any of the internal parts of the ship. The inside is a relatively hollow beast, and in case you're wondering, no drilling was done on any of the bricks in order to get the wires hidden in any one way, shape, or form. Everything has been fit in between holes, and some of the studs covering up the LED lights are just pressed out ever so slightly as to not pinch the actual connection. I think the final result here is awesome though. You're looking at the ship right now in the sort of semi or halfway lit light room, so you've got some light on the ship. You can still see the LEDs glowing, and you might notice that some of the indicator lights in yellow on the front are actually not trans yellow pieces or trans anything pieces. They're just yellow studs, and that way the glow from the light is a little bit more matted, a little bit more muted, and then it doesn't pop quite as much, which is an intentional choice. Now let's take a look at the ship with the much lower light settings. I basically turned off all the lights in this room, minus there was a window that was slightly open in the corner, and I tried to match the camera sensitivity here so it would look as close as what the naked eye would see in real life. It's still pretty decently bright in a dark room here, and now you have a much much better idea as to how the internal lighting looks for the front gunner. The cargo bay down front has an awesome effect when you see the light coming from inside the cargo bay. And of course you can see the main seats for the pilots as well. As an afterthought, we also added Kanan and Ezra practicing with their lightsaber blades on the top. Technically that's not a brick stuff item. And then here is Zeb in the turret one more time at the top with the underlighting really illuminating him quite well. All said and done, it's a really complete looking light job for the ship, and here it is in a dimmed setting for Yavin 4. You get a much better idea as to how it fits into the rest of this much larger diorama. Now, finishing things off, just like the first time we put this ship together, we've been very much humbled by the experience of actually putting together such a massive model. The updated version of the panels actually has increased the parts list to make it now the second largest build that's currently in the web store in terms of pieces, and it's something that we're especially proud of because of how well the model turned out, and it's also acted as somewhat of a catalyst into us working on larger dioramas, and it really spearheaded and got our creative juices flowing for working with designers and creating a lot of other custom builds that you can also find up in the web store now. So just to finish things off, yes, you can get the building instructions for this absolutely massive model. They can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys, or you can click that link in the description below. And yes, it comes with a completed parts list that can be instantly uploaded online, so you can just buy the parts immediately and not have to sift through and figure them out for yourself. So anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching. That is it for the Ghost 2.0 minifig scale model. Let me know what types of builds you want to see in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault. Hey, if you like seeing our LEGO creations and or collections online, they're even more impressive in person. Our LEGO studio in San Diego is now open on the weekends. Click the link in the description below for more information, or if you want to schedule a tour.